Welcome to this edition of Literary Reviews. My name is Heidi Jones. Today, we will review the first volume of Little Women by Louisa May Alcott.
The author released Little Women Part 1 in 1868 to instant success. Fueled by readers clamoring to know who the Little Women marry, she quickly wrote Part 2 and published it in 1869. This volume completed the saga. Now, I will introduce the characters. Because AI doesn't permit the depiction of children, we have selected little people to play the parts of the Little Women. The heart of the novel is the quartet of March sisters, each representing a distinct temperament and stage of girlhood. Margaret March, known as Meg, is the eldest, 16 years old when the story begins. Meg is the little mother of the group. She is widely considered the beauty of the family, possessing soft brown hair, large eyes, and white hands, of which she is notoriously vain. Meg remembers the family's wealthier past better than her siblings, leading her to struggle most with their current poverty. She often envies her wealthy friends, the Moffats, and their finery and leisure. However, she is also dutiful, romantic, and strives to be a proper lady, often serving as a stabilizing force against Jo's wildness. Josephine March, known as Jo, is the novel's fierce, non-conforming protagonist. At 15, she is tall, thin, and coltish, with beautiful long hair, which she carelessly bundles up. Jo is a tomboy who bitterly regrets not being born a boy, as she longs for the independence and opportunities men possess. She is a passionate writer who composes plays for her sisters and stories for newspapers. Her primary internal battle is with her explosive temper and her resistance to growing up and facing societal expectations. She is fiercely protective of her family, particularly Beth. Elizabeth March, known as Beth, is 13 and is the shy, gentle peacemaker of the family. She is described as a mouse who is too timid to attend school, instead studying at home and performing domestic chores. Beth has no desire for the world outside her front door. Her domain is the home, her dolls, which she cares for tenderly, and her piano. She represents the Victorian ideal of the selfless angel in the house. Amy March, the youngest sister, is 12 years old. She is the artistic and often self-absorbed baby of the family. She is described as a regular snow maiden with blue eyes and yellow curling hair. In Part 1, she is often preoccupied with social status, the shape of her nose, and her artistic pursuits. While she can be selfish and shows distinct mannerisms, like using big words incorrectly, she also works hard to conquer her vanity. Her burning of Jo's manuscript in a fit of jealousy is a defining moment of conflict in the first volume of the book. Mrs. March, called Marmee, is the emotional and moral anchor of the family. She acts as a confessor and guide for her daughters, often admitting her own struggles, such as her controlled temper, to help them manage theirs. She is practical, charitable, and deeply patriotic, managing the household alone while her husband serves as a chaplain in the war. She teaches the girls that character is more important than appearance or wealth. Hannah Mullet, the family's loyal servant, is considered more of a friend than an employee. She provides practical support, cooking, and warmth, serving as a second maternal figure, particularly when Marmee is called away to nurse Mr. March in Washington. Aunt March is the girl's wealthy elderly great-aunt. She is cantankerous, critical, and demanding. Jo works as her companion, a task she finds trying. Aunt March represents the traditional, class-conscious society that the March family often disregards, yet she ultimately cares for her nieces in her own rigid way. Theodore Lawrence, called Laurie, is the wealthy, orphaned boy who lives next door with his grandfather. At the beginning of the story, he is 15, almost 16 years old. Half Italian and musically talented, he initially feels lonely and stifled by his grandfather's desire for him to enter the business world. He is charming, energetic, and sometimes moody. He desperately wants to be part of the March family circle, finding in them the warmth and fun lacking in his own home. He forms a particularly close bond with Jo, whom he views as a fellow rebel. Mr. Lawrence, Laurie's grandfather, is an imposing and sometimes gruff old man who hides a warm heart. He initially terrifies the girls, especially Beth, but he eventually becomes a generous benefactor to the family. He is won over by Beth's music, which reminds him of the granddaughter he lost, leading him to gift her a cabinet piano. John Brooks serves as a quiet, steady anchor for the March family. Introduced as Laurie's serious and hardworking tutor, he is defined by his integrity and gentle demeanor rather than wealth. His honorable nature and deep devotion eventually win the heart of the eldest sister, Meg. Proving his loyalty, he serves in the Civil War and returns to establish a humble, happy home, embodying the timeless virtues of patience, kindness, and self-sacrificing love. The story begins in a modest New England home during the American Civil War. It is Christmas time, but the mood is somber. The four March sisters are lamenting their poverty and the absence of their father, who is serving as a chaplain in the Union Army. Under the guidance of their beloved mother, Marmee, the girls decide to sacrifice their Christmas presents to buy gifts for her instead. On Christmas morning, the girls awaken to find copies of The Pilgrim's Progress under their pillows, a guide they resolve to use to navigate their own burdens and then journey towards self-improvement.
I hope this book isn't my only present. Marmee moralizes all year long. She shouldn't think it's something we look forward to. Maybe, as a prank, I can temporarily switch her present with a copy of the South Beach Diet.
Their first test comes when Marmee asks them to give their festive breakfast to the Hummels, a German immigrant family suffering nearby. The girls agree cheerfully. This act of charity catches the eye of their wealthy neighbor, Mr. Lawrence, who rewards their kindness with a lavish feast, sparking a connection between the two households.
Isabella, please take this next door to the Marches. I don't care what the narrator said. I heard those girls screaming and crying about being hungry all the way from my study.
The social circle of the March family expands to include Theodore Laurie Lawrence, the lonely, spirited grandson of their wealthy neighbor. Jo, the tomboyish and literary second sister, meets Laurie at a New Year's Eve dance where they bond over their shared awkwardness. Jo is hiding a burn on her dress, and Laurie is hiding from social expectations. Laurie is quickly adopted into the March family circle, becoming a brother to the girls and a confidant to Jo.
Your sisters want to play dress up and play acting again? We played that yesterday. I want to play hoop and stick.
Sounds good to me.
As the year progresses, each sister faces specific trials related to her character flaws, or burdens. Meg, the eldest, struggles with vanity and envy of the wealthy. Her resolve is tested when she attends a fashionable party at the Moffats. She allows herself to be dressed up and paraded about like a doll, only to feel ashamed when Laurie sees her. She eventually realizes that domestic peace is worth more than luxury.
Laurie, please don't tell my family about how I behaved or dressed tonight. They wouldn't understand and it would worry Marmee. Since I'm already here, I might as well live it up a little longer.
Jo's fiery temper nearly leads to tragedy when, in a fit of rage after Amy burns her manuscript, Jo refuses to warn Amy about thin ice while skating. Amy falls in and nearly drowns. The incident terrifies Jo and drives her to seek Marmee's help in controlling her anger. I felt like such a bad person when Amy fell in the ice, but inside, I giggled a little.
That brat burned my manuscript. Sometimes my anger goes too far.
Dang, girl. Beth, the shy and musical sister, struggles with timidity. She eventually overcomes her fear of Mr. Lawrence, who gives her access to his grand piano. In a touching exchange, she knits him slippers, and he gifts her a beautiful cabinet piano that belonged to his deceased granddaughter. Amy, the youngest, grapples with selfishness and affectation. She suffers a humiliation at school, involving forbidden pickled limes and a strict teacher, forcing her to learn humility.
If he had his way, I'd be just like all of the others, well-disciplined and well-mannered. I hope Marmee doesn't make me go to school anymore.
Marmee withdraws Amy from the school immediately due to the teacher's physical harshness. The family's domestic tranquility is shattered by a telegram. Mr. March is critically ill in a Washington, D.C. hospital. Marmee prepares to leave immediately. Jo, in a desperate act of sacrifice and independence, sells her long, beautiful hair for $25 to help fund the trip.
It was a wonderfully generous thing Jo did by cutting her hair to help raise money, Ban.
I hope it isn't reason for people to speculate.
About
About a tomboy cutting her hair short. Nah,
hopefully it doesn't spur gossip.
it doesn't help. People gossip no matter what.
Maybe if there is a part 2,
Then the mystery will be solved.
or intensified, I think this qualifies as gossip.
You're right. Let's stop now. While Marmee is away, the girls try to run the household. However, neglect creeps in. Beth, the only one faithful to her charitable duties, visits the Hummels alone and contracts scarlet fever.
Geh weg! Du darfst nicht hier sein. Es ist Scharlach. Lauf weg, Bett. Wir sind alle krank.
Bitte, geh sofort. Es ist zu gefährlich. I couldn't tell what they were saying. I thought they were telling me they were very hungry. So I brought the potatoes in the house.
The sickness ravages the house. Amy, who has not had the disease, is sent to live with the crotchety Aunt March to ensure her safety. Beth's condition deteriorates to the brink of death. The house falls into a dark despair, and Jo keeps a lonely vigil. Just as the doctor fears the worst, the fever breaks, and Beth begins a slow recovery. Marmee returns just in time to nurse her frail daughter back to health, bringing light back into the home. As Christmas approaches again, the atmosphere is markedly different from the previous year. The family is weary but grateful. The best gift arrives when Mr. March returns home, surprised by Lori and the family. The circle is finally complete.
Your mother said last year you all got a copy of Pilgrim's Progress, so this year I bought everyone a copy of Adam Bede by George Eliot. Enjoy.
Now, the dynamics of the family are shifting. Lori's tutor, John Brooke, has fallen in love with Meg. Initially, Jo is furious at the prospect of losing her sister, and Meg is unsure of her own feelings, finding Mr. Brooke's poverty a hurdle. The decision is solidified by the interference of Aunt March. When the wealthy aunt forbids Meg from marrying the poor tutor, Meg's defiant spirit and loyalty are roused. She defends John Brooke, realizing in the process that she loves him. Part 1 concludes with a sense of matured joy. Meg is engaged, Beth is recovering, though permanently weakened, Amy has matured, and Jo is beginning to find success with her writing. The Little Women have successfully navigated a year of their pilgrimage, evolving from children into young women ready to face their futures. Thank you for joining us with this edition of Literary Reviews.